315. What does a guide
Good morning,
mean?
everyone. What does a property guide mean? That's what we're talking about this morning. Stay tuned. The show must go on. Episode 315. Better late than never. Talking about what does a property guide mean when buying a property, also when selling property for landlord, for vendors out there with myself, Michael Bergio, and Mark Novak. How's your morning been?
How big's my head? How big's my head today? Look at that. It's a whopper.
Look at that. Good start to the morning.
I had it Barry, didn't I?
Too soon.
Oh, it's too. We won't talk about it. I'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
It's too
Anyway,
raw. Let's talk about guides. These guides stuff people around, stuff buyers around hard with, and particularly lately, what's happening in the marketplace. So we're talking about when people are auctioning properties, agents are auctioning, or even a price guide, an asking guide. Buyers are trying to reference how they buy the property, what they offer on the property off that guide, and often it's right out, eh?
It is. I think the biggest thing that I get, especially when I get family and friends looking to buy a property, they'll tell me their budget's $800,000, and I'm always open for them to send me properties that they're looking at. And so often so their budget's 800. They're sending me properties at 785, 800, 810. And a lot of the time, the quickest thing I say to them is, if your budget's 8, max, you need to be looking at properties at 700,000. And they're like, what do you mean? And I go, well, the guide basically is generally 10% lower or within that region of what the owner is expecting or where the property could go for. And don't get me wrong, there are occasions it does sell around that guide level, sometimes even under, but majority of the time, from an agent's point of view, if you're putting a value of 800 on a property, you're guiding. You want 800, you're guiding 720, 750, and you're wanting competition. By law, you can be 10% lower. Is your guide? That's what a lot of people don't get. Law is 10%. So the aim of the game is to get as many buyers there as you can. You guide it as cheap as you can in most occasions. So if you want to buy a property for 800, you got to be around that 720, 750 mark. It's a lot different if a property, or not even. Sometimes a little bit different if a property.
Why do agents do this? Buyers are wondering.
It comes from the premise you want as many buyers there as you can. The cheaper it looks, for the better the property, the more buyers you're going to have there. But there was big issues probably 4 or 5 years ago. Agents were abusing this. And where that 10% came in, you wanted 800, agents would be guiding 650, 690. 100 people come to the open, and you've got a lot of competition, which is great, but not misleading people. So,
but where it gives buyers the bum steer is when it's a genuine guide. So often that's what makes it really hard for a buyer, because it's like, okay, I can't afford that because they're saying 780, but they mean 880. No, they're saying 780, they mean 780. So it's really hard, and it must be super hard for like out there buying at the moment, because you're trying to distinguish what is a conservative guide and a realistic guide. They're the two differences. So you sort of got to be in it to win it. You sort of got to plonk your offers in wherever you can. It's free to make an offer, guys. Just remember that it's free to make an offer. If it says 680, look at it. If it says 720, look at it. If it says 780, look at it. That could all mean the same end price, believe it or not.
100%, because as you said, being misleading and basically a dick sales agent is tough, and good agents do not like it. We don't like, and we don't, if an owner wants 800, we don't want to be guiding 650. The manipulation and spin you have to do to sort of get it up to 800. There's a lot more straight shooters out there who, if they want 800, it's at 780 sort of thing. But those bad apples just really hurt the buyers from inquiring, because I've had properties where they come and especially on houses, Mark. I think houses are the worst, that market, because there are occasions where you're guiding 1.2, the owner wants 1.3 and it goes for 1.5, and typical agent underquoted. Like, there's a lot of it out there, and a lot of agents, when you look at it, you go, wow, just a great auction, 2 people must have loved it. Buyers see that and they go, that agent was underquoting, sort of thing. They don't necessarily, unless they're there and they just see these bidders go for it, they jump to the worst conclusions, which I understand, because the 10% rule came in because agents were doing that. So it's not without merit.
It's false, misleading, and deceptive conduct.
Yes.
That's what it's bordering. It's bordering false, misleading, and deceptive conduct as a real estate agent. So it's on one side of things, the agent's trying to get the most amount of buyers through his client's property. He's trying to be conservative with the marketplace. He's trying to make sure good quality interest is generated and built up to the final sales price. That's one end of the pendulum. The right side of the pendulum is they're dogging everyone.
Yeah. You know, the other side, morning, Anmol, morning, Luke. You know what the other side no one generally talks about or looks at, which I think is probably one of the biggest factors which get mixed up with being a dog or too conservative, is a lot of the time the vendor will start higher than what it's worth in their mind, regardless of what you put the price on. So an agent is balancing pricing it reasonably with all those factors, but also the owner's expectations. Because let's think of it. You've got two sides. You've got a buyer wants it for the least amount and a seller wants the most. But we take orders from instructions from the owner. So you're juggling the owner generally wanting 10% more. You've got the true value and you're trying to go that sort of 5 to 10% below to create that competition. And the reason is, as most agents, Luke and Mel, you'll know, sometimes an agent has to be more conservative to counteract an owner wishful thinking, because when it goes wrong or the agent isn't firm on their price and that, you get no one to the opens. Instead of having 5 or 10 people, you get 1 to 3. And what that does to a campaign could end up costing that owner 15% lower, just with a not in the right point. So a lot of agents will always lean on the more conservative route because you're balancing a lot higher figure from the owner.
Well, you know, a well-priced property, a good guide on a property, a correct guide for an auction property or a sales property can do $5,000 or $10,000 worth of heavy lifting and advertising. You can do an unbelievable advertisement, spend like 30 grand on marketing and have a price that's too high. Not only will you not sell the property, but you'll get nobody through the door. So pricing is absolutely critical, whereas you can undercook it and just get a massive amount of people through the door, not spend much on marketing. So I think buyers beware. It's interesting, Luke, who's watching, is a buyer's agent. And Luke, you would see this all the time when you're buying properties for clients and you're trying to have a look between fact and fiction when buyers are actually, when you're talking to real estate agents. I think the only thing you can really do is know your shit. As a buyer, know your prices, after you've been through maybe, I reckon, 10 properties and you've seen those properties sell, I reckon then you're an absolute expert in pricing on that property. But guys, bear in mind, a buyer is seeing more properties than the real estate agent they're meeting. A buyer coming through is looking, you know how you just use that price of 700,000 to 800,000? That buyer has seen just on that weekend 10 properties in that price range. The weekend before, 10 properties, and the next weekend 10 properties. They've seen 30 properties. Yeah, the agent may have seen 5.
Yep, that's the fact.
Physically.
Physically.
So I think, buyers become experts a little bit.
Yeah. And so what would your message be to buyers out there? Get educated. It's beautiful how much data is on realestate.com. Go through that sold section. They're basically all there. Agents are the first ones to pat themselves on the back with displaying the pricing and the address. Drive past those properties. See, get the feel for it, and that way because there are a lot of agents.
You physically got to walk through. You physically got to see about 10 of them, and they physically have to sell, and got to know those prices. You're a bit of a pro at that point, I reckon.
Yep. So there's two. Making an offer is the best way to weed it out, because
it's true.
And this is where you can probably spot I like your words. Fact. What was it? Fact and fiction.
Yep.
The best way to spot that, if you got 800 budget, they're guiding 750. If they don't come back with a counter, is probably the first sign of they're wanting 900. Because if you've made an offer within very above, say the guide, but under that 10%, so 720, let's say the guide's 720, 10% is the 800 bait close, and you're in there at 750. If you're within 20, 30 grand of that top end of 10%, more than likely you should be getting a counter. Obviously case by case, except when the owner wants 900. And if the agent comes back and goes, yeah, I was guiding 720, but they want 9. And you're like, that's 20% above. That's probably one of your biggest signs of fact versus fiction. And that's how you can weed it out. The offer is free. And counter or no counter will give you so much evidence. Would be one of the biggest advice.
And it's frustrating as hell, guys. Like, I get it. I think as a buyer with guides and looking at stuff sell, it's really disheartening stuff. But I think it's don't let it break your heart, dishevel you, so you don't end up buying a property. I think sometimes if you're a buyer and you've missed out on that property once, twice, thrice, I think you can go, you know what, screw this, I'm going to wait. I'll wait until next year, or I'll wait until whenever. Next thing you know, a year goes past, prices have gone up, you missed out 50 grand. So don't let it get the better of you. Keep your chin up and keep making offers and stuff like that.
Great question, Alessio. How does CoreLogic data prices play on this? How accurate? Okay, so 2 prices CoreLogic will give you. They will give you what it sold for, or 3, what it sold for pretty well. Yeah, when it bought it and recently. But also there is an auto price it generates. In my experience, if the property is very common, there's a lot of it, a lot of transactions, it's pretty accurate. Cool. It will be more than likely within the 10%, unless it's
5.
Even 5. It's pretty good, especially GY units. It's good, but where it gets skewed, if they've renovated the property, add value, it doesn't know that. So it's comparing unrenovated to unrenovated when it's sold and when it's done. So that's where it throws it out. And if it's, say, unicorn property, and we're not basing it on price, we're basing it on uniqueness. Big balcony, big courtyard, water views, quite unique. When it's like that, it can be pretty out of whack. So you'll know as Mark said, if you're looking at a lot of properties, you'll know if it's a typical 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 1 car, or if it's a unique one. When it's unique, you need to do more investigations. Even with houses, still fairly accurate as well. But once again, if a lot of properties are selling 5 single level, but there's a lot of
there's more variables in a house. Yeah. So I think to square off on that question is, units, if there's a lot of that particular unit, it's easy to identify. Computers taking averages, basically. So it's a price of averages, whereas a real estate agent going through or a bank valuer going through is going to be very exacting. Although the bank valuer is going to be conservative, the real estate is going to be optimistic.
Yes. I'll say Tom. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, Tom Panos.
Tom Panos dialogue. Right now, buyers are rejecting your property at the higher price. Let the price at its level where you're in position to reject some offers. Exactly right. You rather low offers than no offers. There's a saying that Tom Panos says, no offers is the agent's fault, low offers is the market. So that's what you want to do.
That's a great one. And Michael, I've noticed that this morning, Michael and I had a disagreement yesterday or the day before, and it was on lower caps names or upper caps.
Yeah.
So then today I went up. So I went upper caps on my name on the screen today for you, and then you went lower caps for me. So yeah. What do you guys reckon? I reckon, I don't know. Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, we're in sync of being considerate.
Well, that's right. Yin and yang. Yin and yang. Well, we could do lower caps everything, our names.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? But
anyway, I'm going to go. Hey?
I was just saying, audio was good. It was a pain yesterday, so it was good. I'm not sure.
Well,
you same phone, don't you?
Yeah, I went over to the Samsung 12 and Mal, and it's not a fan of StreamYard as much as the Apple 12. Sorry, is not as much as a winner as the Samsung 20 Plus Note. So we're talking on the Note.
Also, I believe Facebook has stopped live streaming with Zoom. I was doing some research on it. Basically, it looks like a pain in the ass to stream it. You got to do back end stuff to make it capable. And I believe, correct if I'm wrong, if anyone's been using it, I believe that's now because Facebook have brought in their own live. So it's been very difficult. We tried to do it yesterday.
Really?
I researched it, and it could be easy, but I'm not a tech guy.
No, that'd be a bit of a silly move for Zoom to do that. You reckon?
I know. I think Facebook stopped it. They've brought in their own. They've got it back. So
they got that work thing, yeah.
Yeah, unless it was our end of Zoom. I'd love to know if anyone else had it. We tried to do Zoom. The buttons weren't there. And then when I was reading up on it, it sort of said, yeah, now Facebook Live's coming in, but it gave me all these back-end things you can enter to make it work, but it didn't. I don't know. Love your advice. I did some light reading, very light.
And we've had 2 Barry starts. Yeah, had a Barry start yesterday and a Barry start today. Today, while I was talking with Michael on Bluetooth on my phone, not videoing, I crashed my trailer.
Yeah. So, message 2 days in a row. Show must go on regardless. And we appreciate you guys always.
I used every swear word under the sun with you and said not doing the show. And then went and did a biopsy on the damage and then thought, you know what, the show must go on. Here we are.
All good. Thank you, guys. We'll be back tomorrow morning. Always open to recommendations on topics. I may do a bit more reading on Zoom to see if that can work and maybe something else at our end. But thank you, everyone. Cheers.
See you, legend.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.